Hello, music fans. I'm here to count down my top 13 favorite post hardcore albums, and this is from the perspective of a Prog fan. So I've already made some videos on my favorite prog rock and prog metal albums that you can check out on my channel. Um, and now I wanted to talk about post hardcore because it's another genre that I enjoy and listen to quite a bit. But I listen to some of the more progressive and interesting bands that have interesting instrumental stuff going on, cool guitar leads, good vocal harmonies, interesting melodies and riffs and stuff like that. So it's going to have that kind of angle. And also, I don't know much about the 90s post hardcore scene, so there's only one 90s album here. This will be kind of the 2000s post hardcore, as that's what I'm familiar with. I know there's probably a lot of people that really like 90s post hardcore that won't find what they're looking for here in this video. So this is mostly 2000s post hardcore with one 90s album, and it's stuff that if you're a fan of prog music, you might enjoy. I'm going to start off with my number 13, which is A New Hope by Vanna. And this album's pretty cool. It's got like time signature changes going on. Like in a song like Trash Mouth, I think there's 7 beats per bar in a lot of sections. But my favorite song on here is Safe to Say, which is a great song in terms of melody, just really catchy melody. With most of these albums, if not, I think all of these albums, there's a mix of screaming and singing, so it's not all one or the other. You get that nice duality there with aggressive scream vocals and beautiful catchy singing. So that's what you have here on Vanna's album A New Hope. This is their second album from 2009. Their first album was called Curses in 2007. Those two are my two favorite by Vanna. I don't like their albums after those two as much. I think they changed the screamer. It's not like the new screamer is not bad by any means. I just prefer the one from these two albums over their newer one. Unfortunately, this band doesn't exist anymore, but they were pretty solid. My number 12 is by the band Silverstein, a Canadian post-hardcore band, and I'm going to pick their album A Shipwreck in the Sand. I know most people would pick Discovering the Waterfront, which I also like, and that's probably my second favorite by them, but I'm going to go with A Shipwreck in the Sand to be different. It's my favorite of theirs. It's like a concept album, so this works for the prog people. It's a concept album in 4 chapters. So if you're into concept albums and narratives and stuff like that, you might like this. It's a little bit more on the emo side for most prog fans, but I enjoy it. My favorite song on here would be I Am the Arsonist. Really great riffs. It almost borders on metalcore sometimes, that song. And my number 11 is by another Canadian post-hardcore band called Dead and Divine, and this is their album Antimacy. It's like intimacy and antimacy. And my favorite song here is the opening track, Asphyxia Friend. This is from 2011, and it's their third and final album. They don't exist anymore either. Silverstein is still going strong, but Dead and Divine is no longer. My number 10 album is going to be by the band Cienvar, and it's called Stay Lost. This is kind of experimental and progressive post-hardcore. I think this is maybe a super group. It consists of some members of Dance Gavin Dance and and Hail the Sun vocalist is on here as well, and Hail the Sun will be mentioned right after this on this list as well. So this is a great album from 2016. It's their debut album of this supergroup, and I look forward to hearing what else this group does in the future. And on that note, my number 9 is from Hail the Sun, the band Hail the Sun, and it's from this year, 2021. It's their album New Age Filth, and my favorite song on there would be the opening track, Domino. And It was in my top 10 albums of the year 2021, but may have just been knocked out because there were so many strong albums in October 2021. So maybe it'll be in the top 20, but maybe not my top 10 of the year. And my number 8 post hardcore albums from the perspective of a Prog fan is Dying Is Your Latest Fashion by Escape the Fate. And my favorite song on here is the opening track again. A lot of times they open up with a banger on these types of albums. So The Webs We Weave. And this is the only album of this band that has Ronnie Radke on vocals, and he'd be my favorite vocalist of this band. Craig Mabbitt took over vocals afterwards, and he's pretty good too. And I like their second album, This War Is Ours, but I really only like their first two albums, and then they kind of go in more of a pop rock radio with the odd breakdown to prove that they're still hardcore direction. So I really like the songwriting and the integrity of the first two albums. I actually feel like they're writing something that is their style, whereas they kind of just evolved in their later albums. And I don't want to say sold out, but it's kind of more in that radio friendly direction, whereas these first two albums of theirs were pretty innovative. All right, my number 7 post-hardcore album for Prog fans is going to be the 90s one on the list here. This is from 1995. It's by Deftones, and it's called Adrenaline. It's maybe debatable whether this is post-hardcore. Some people call it alternative metal, new metal, but Wikipedia lists it as post-hardcore primarily as the first listing, so I'm trusting that. I hear a bit of the post-hardcore sound in here, but I could also see people saying it's alternative metal or new metal. And my favorite song on here would be 7 Words. And yeah, the vocals of Chino Marino are very unique on here. He always sings really unique melodies that you wouldn't expect for what's going on behind it. You might almost think it's like, oh, he's singing a lot of non-chord tones. It's very experimental, but it sounds good. So whatever he's doing, keep it up. My number 6 post-hardcore album is going to be They're Only Chasing Safety by Underoath from 2004. My favorite song on here would be the opening track, Young and Aspiring. And yeah, this is a really solid album. This is it the first album? Yeah, it's the first album with Spencer Chamberlain on lead vocals, but the 4th album overall. Their first 3 had Dallas Taylor on lead vocals, who went on to form Maylene and the Sons of Disaster. But their first 3 albums are very different from this one. They have hints of death metal and black metal, whereas this one kind of went down the screamo, emo, post-hardcore, melodic metalcore kind of vibe with it. And it's a lot catchier. There's a lot more hooks on this one than their first 3. All right, my number 5 post-hardcore album for a prog fan. This one's kind of mathcore-ish and has prog and math rock hints in it, but still has that post-hardcore vibe. It's Manipulator by The Fall of Troy. And my favorite song on here would be Semi-Fiction. And this is from 2007, and it's their 3rd studio album. I actually really like one of their EPs that follows this as well, Phantom on the Horizon. That may be even my favorite release from them, but I wanted to stick to LPs for this list. All right, we're at my number 4. It's Idola, and the album's called To Speak to Listen, and it's from 2017. My favorite song on here is Tetelestai, the second song. It's kind of a softer song, but really catchy guitar leads, like inspired by Protest the Hero. It's kind of like Hail the Sun in that way. They're both kind of inspired by that busy guitar leads. Fall of Troy is kind of like that as well. My number 3 is I Am Hollywood by He Is Legend from 2004. My favorite song here is the opening track, The Seduction. He Is Legend went through a lot of evolution throughout their sound throughout their career. But this one's their post-hardcore album. Their next one, Suck Out the Poison, is more metalcore, and then they go in more of a hard rock direction with It Hates You and onwards. They've got like some grunge vibes like Alice in Chains, but this one's post-hardcore. It's produced by Adam D from Killswitch Engage. Really good album. It's their first full-length studio album. My number 2 is going to be Illuminatio by Chiados. This has progressive rock vibes to it as well. It's the only Chiados album not to feature Craig Owens on vocals. It's got Brandon Bulmer, and I actually really like his vocals, and this is my favorite Chiados album. I know that might be blasphemy, and everybody likes the Craig Owens albums better, but I really like this one. I like the Craig Owens albums as well, but there's something about this. I like the vocals on here. I like the catchy choruses. I like the riffs. I like the composition. Everything on here is great. The favorite song on here is going to be Those Who Slay Together Stay Together. And then my number 1 post-hardcore album for Prog fans is The Artist in the Ambulance by Thrice. And this is from 2003. My favorite song on here is Hoods on Peregrine. It's got some stuff in 5/4. It's got some good time signature changes, 4/4, 5/4. I don't know what other time signatures are in there, but it's got some cool stuff like that. The riffs are good. Got a good balance of melody and brutality to it. So I highly recommend you check it out. And that's 13 post-hardcore albums that a Prog fan really likes. And hopefully, if you like post-hardcore, then you'll like these. Maybe even if you don't, but you like progressive music and stuff with cool instrumentation and catchy melodies and cool riffs, you might like some of this stuff anyways, even if you don't typically like post-hardcore. So give it a try. Peace out.